The stacking community definitely fashions itself on being very patriotic. But when you have a mint like the US Mint, it really makes it hard to support your country's mint. It seems like the past few years, especially post-pandemic, the US Mint has kind of just been asleep at the wheel. And the more you look into it, the more it seems that this isn't necessarily a new phenomenon. I mean, when you look back at the rollout of the new peace dollar, the new Morgans, the Liberty rounds that they came, or the Liberty coins they came out with, just so many different things that should be easy layups for the mint seem to be so difficult. And look at the flip side. These guys here, why are they in a coin holder? Makes no sense. It's a bullion coin. Again, I've touched on this before. The premiums on these type of bullion coin are just ridiculous. And again, the older they get, the more they keep that premium, quote unquote. Now, if you go to the coin shop and try to get rid of them, obviously that may not be the case, or if you're selling online. But technically, yes, the older they are, the more premium they maintain. The issue is that with these high premiums, buying stuff from the mint has just really become prohibitive. It's really a barrier to finding things that you really like. Now, the Eagles. Never been really too much of a fan of the American Eagle. This is the Type 1, obviously. The Type 2, same thing. Not a huge fan. And I really haven't heard anybody who is a huge fan of either. But even with that being said, I mean, it is a classic design, right? It's something you can set your watch to. It's got a lot of detail in there when you really look at it. So the first time that I visited the coin shop and saw one of these, I was actually pretty awestruck. I felt like, this has got some good look to it. It's got, it just makes you feel like they tried a little harder on the proof eagle. And so when I saw these, I knew I had to have at least one. Now, obviously, I have quite a few. Not really. Maybe 10 proof eagles, just all randomly picked up from the coin shop over time. But that coin did a lot to kind of restore my faith in, the US Mint, in that they can produce something that's actually worthwhile. Now, that was before I saw these guys over here, the proof eagles, the reverse proof eagles. Now, this is the first one that I bought, and actually I was really pleased with it. I think at the time this cost me $80, maybe, something like that, $70, $80. But really seeing the design, seeing the frost, seeing the detail on it really, reinvigorated my, desire to be patriotic with purchases. And again, I guess all the reverse proofs are from the West Point Mint, hence the mint mark. But it was actually pretty exciting because I was like, okay, it restores my faith that they're going to be able to produce something that's worthwhile. Now, this one, I guess, also is a reverse proof, but it's different finish than the other one. I like the other one a little bit better. This one is apparently also reverse proof. Reverse proof, but different finish. This one, not so much. Still nice to have reverse proofs, but not in the same league. And again, my favorite. I wish this was an S, not a W, as far as the mint, because then it would be significantly more valuable. But again, this is the only one that I look at and I'm like, okay, the US Mint is definitely capable of producing, high quality, high detail, awesome coins. This one here, now, again, many stackers would look at that and say, it's just silver, get over it. But, if you're into the collectability and you do like the patriotic aspect of it, then there's definitely something to be said for the reverse proof eagles. I mean, if we were lucky enough to have this as the standard, by all means, I'd be all about the US Mint, talking about, the great quality. But something like this, nowadays, I'm pretty sure it sets you back like $150, something like that. So yeah, to each their own, whether that's worth it or not. Many people would say that's definitely not worth it. And that's the hard part, because even when I look at things like, these guys that are slab, I was looking at this same coin, if it was graded as a 70, I think it's $400, something like that. Selling for, now, not that it would actually sell for that, but just a ballpark range. We all know what online prices. So my question there with the slabbing is, obviously there's a scale there somewhere with, the grading itself, and then the desirability of the coin. If it's a highly desirable unique coin, then obviously the grading may not be as important. Whereas if it's a more common coin, it pretty much has to be in pristine condition for it to really have that type of value. So at this point, it's kind of just really just looking for the one-offs, the other stuff that's just interesting. You know what I mean? Like this guy over here, I got this from Silver Oceans. Just interesting stuff that you can kind of pick up. This one here was getting some hate from T the Silver Stacker because he was saying that this one is a burnished eagle, as you can see by the W mint mark, whereas again, normal eagle. You put them side by side, very difficult to tell, so many people would say, why would you do that? The burnished eagle, again, double struck for a little bit more detail. It does look a little bit more detailed. The only place you can see it is above the head, really. That's where you can kind of see it. But then, of course, also no mint mark on the regular eagle, whereas this one does have the regular mint mark, or the W mint mark. So again, to each their own, but it's really hard to kind of get behind any of these series that come out of the mint, when, especially considering the quality issues they've had with, I forget what the name of the coin is. It's like the Liberty coin. SalivateMetal had one, a gold one. Quite a few people had them. I think Silver Wolverine had one. But they had like the blank size, where the coin itself, the rim of the coin was, one side was higher than the other, and it really wasn't. So like one side on the coin was like fatter on this side than it was on the other side, which is just like, wow, that's a pretty big quality issue, right? Especially when you're paying top dollar for the first releases of those things. It's kind of something that you would think should be addressed, or at least on the front end they should let you know that the wide variety of different outcomes in the different coins. Pretty interesting. But that's what I mean. Like, the US Mint really just hasn't done much to garner the interest of the stacking community. And I'm wondering if it's just because when you're the top dog with something like this, where again, it's just a generic bullion piece, but because it has so much recognizability, that you really don't need to try on anything else. You don't really need to attract new people, because you have people coming hand over fist for these guys. To me, it's kind of like when you think of McDonald's. Like, people hate on McDonald's, but the reality is, like, they don't need to be super high quality, because they have a never-ending stream of people coming for their product. You know what I mean? It's all about specializing in what you're good at. Now, I would say that the US Mint isn't necessarily even good at producing just the eagle, with all the supply issues they've had with blanks and this and that. So I don't really know what their strength is, but I wish it was a little bit easier. If they came out with something like a collectible series, something like these guys, where really good detail, really good, a lot to look at and be kind of excited about, I'd be all about it. I'd be all completely on board, and I'm sure there'd be plenty of stackers who would as well. But just because, again, we see the same quality issues, we see the same tired designs, even the metals and stuff, like, the military stuff that they come out with seems like it would be pretty cool. But then when you actually see the finished product, it's pretty lame. Which again is kind of sad. At the end of the day, it's like, if you're going to produce anything, and you're going to take the time to produce these items, at least make the ones that you do produce, in a high quality. Don't, have these huge quality issues on something. And again, they're charging top dollar for it. So it's not like they're, giving it out at a discount. They're charging good money for these things. The bottom line is they should at least be able to produce competent pieces that you can depend on. How are you going to, resell that, or even as a collector piece? How are you going to show off your piece that has, clear defects in it? That's pretty subpar, which makes it very difficult, again, to support the US Mint.